spirit of collaboration and respect.
Merci de libérer la scène. L'émission débutera dans quelques minutes. Please clear the stage. The show will begin in a few minutes.
Where are you guys? Mais voilà, là! What are you two doing? You can't be just playing around on the stage like this. The show is about to begin. Allez, allez, je le sais que vous avez hâte de visiter l'exposition.
I know you really are eager to see the show.
And then we can go visit the exhibit. Allez, allez.
Go.
Tout est beau, Peter? Okay, Jimmy, we are good to go.
Bonsoir et bienvenue au Musée canadien de l'histoire pour l'inauguration de l'exposition de Pepinot à la patrouille, notre enfance télévisuelle. Une exposition réalisée par le Musée canadien de l'histoire en collaboration avec CBC Radio-Canada et avec la participation de Télé-Québec. Good evening and welcome to the Canadian Museum of History for the official opening ceremony of the exhibition From Pepinot to PAW Patrol, Television of Our Childhoods, an exhibition produced by the Canadian Museum of History in collaboration with CBC Radio-Canada and with the participation of Télé-Québec. Accueillons notre animatrice. Please welcome our host for this evening, Maya Scaba.
Ben, merci pour votre accueil.
Thank you for your welcome. Hello to everyone. My name is Maya Scaba, and I'm passionate about the world of the stage. It's really great to be here.
Est-ce qu'il y en a ici ou à la maison qui connaissent l'émission Toc Toc Toc? OK, ben, c'était mon émission préférée.
You know the program Talk Talk Talk? It was my favorite show. I would miss not one of their shows.
I'm happy to say that you'll be able to catch me in a series called Gang de Hockey on TFO this fall. Don't miss it. Une bonne main pour le directeur musical.
A good hand for the director musical, Peter.
Notre première invitée est la dirigeante de ce musée, une sorte de directrice artistique pour cette exposition. She's the interim president and chief
Elle est
executive.
la PDG du Musée canadien de la guerre et de l'histoire. Accueillons chaleureusement Madame Caroline Dramaguet.
Ben, bienvenue à l'inauguration de l'exposition.
Welcome to the inauguration of our show, Our Childhood at TV.
C'est un plaisir de vous avoir ici avec nous ce soir. So, what is the significance of this exhibition for the Museum of History?
Excellent first question, Maya. Well, you know, the 70-year history that is presented in the exhibition is
You hear me now? Yes, okay. Where were we? Okay, so as I was saying, Maya, so the 70-year history that's presented in the exhibition, it's such an important part of Canadian cultural history. And the exhibition, when you walk through it, will really feature some of the beloved television content for so many of our childhood. And it's those that content that will be really reminded of all those programs and those characters that we connected with as children. And you know, it's also those programs really that has inspired so many generations of Canadian children to really use their imagination and to connect with the people in their community, to become good members of their community, and also to prepare them for those important stages of life and to become good adults.
Yeah. Donc, je suis curieuse. Le musée a
So
travaillé
I'm curious, who did produce this exhibition? It's a lot of teamwork. We worked with a number of our experts of the museum, and you will see that there's a lot of material, exhibit, artifact, archives from our collection, and with a lot of programs that we saw when we were young. We were always told to work as a team, yes, and an exhibition like this wouldn't be possible without a lot of teamwork. So we had the great opportunity to develop this collaboration with CBC Radio-Canada, who really generously gave us access to their archives. Are you okay, Maya? Yeah?
Continue.
Oh, carry on, carry on. So as I was saying, they gave us access to their archives, their collection. So we're very happy with that. We also worked with Radio-Québec. Nadine, hi, also gave us generous access to their connections, their collection, their contents. And we worked with public institutions, with private agencies. And all of these people did great teamwork, and we're very happy for this great collaboration.
Tell us a bit more about the exhibition and what people can expect to see.
Well, when you walk through the exhibition, of course, you'll be reminded of your favorite television programs as a child, the English, the French, the Indigenous programs. You'll even encounter, of course, your favorite characters. You'll see their costumes, you'll see props, you'll see puppets. And you may also encounter shows that you didn't really know growing up, but you'll definitely learn about the impact that they've had on communities and on just children throughout different generations.
Yeah, that's so cool. Donc, est-ce que vous avez une histoire
Have
personnelle
you
à
got a personal story to share with us regarding these children programs, either you or your programs? Perhaps both, a bit of both. Of course, personally, when I came to Canada, I was 5 years old. No, I was 6 years old. And I remember having watched Passepartout with a great deal of attention because it helped me to understand what culture I was coming into, to learn what snow was about. And I remember that my more Anglophone friends with whom I was watching around Peru, and I so want them to be able to see my name in the mirror. And my children, of course, Caillou was a large part of my children's life. Taught us how to brush their teeth and sleep alone in their room, prepare the little brother. And when the little brother arrived, PAW Patrol happened with him. And my son even put that in my pocket. He wanted me to bring Proxy over. I always have a bit of difficulty of remembering the name, PAW Patrol. So a hand of applause for Ms. Dromaguet. A number of our programs were prepared by CBC Radio-Canada. Join me to welcome our next guest, Mr. Yvan Cloutier, right here on stage. He's the director of CBC Ottawa-Gatineau.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Bonjour, ça me fait plaisir.
CBC
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Children's television. What people may also not know is that CBC Radio Canada has been an important partner for this exhibition. It's great to have a chance to chat with you tonight.
It's great to be here.
So one thing I'm sure viewers are wondering is what significance does this exhibition have for CBC Radio Canada?
It is very important. You know, CBC Radio Canada's programs, children programs, have been really at the center of our mission since basically the invention of television. And we've been entertaining and educating kids for so many years.
Yeah.
And it's also quite interesting to look at the national public broadcaster from that perspective.
Yeah.
Because when you think of it, the contents, those contents have been embedded in everyone's memories of the collective memories of our childhood. So yes, it does have a lot of value for us. And I have to say, it was a pleasure to work with the history, the Musée Canadien de l'Histoire, to set up and to bring this exhibition to life. I can't wait to see it also.
Donc, selon vous, c'est quoi le rôle de CBC
So,
Radio-Canada?
what is the role of CBC Radio-Canada in the creation and the promotion of children's programming in Canada? Essentially, what CBC Radio-Canada does is to prepare tomorrow's generation. So that is why it was so important. It's always been important for decades for CBC Radio-Canada to create. Are you all right? Are you all right? You're under control? All right. So that's why it's important for CBC Radio-Canada to create content such as this. Obviously, we prepare tomorrow's generation to create moments, educational moments where we learn things and get people where they are, create universes and light a flame. And CBC Radio-Canada has always put the public at the center of its observations, and we dream about that from morning till night. And children are, of course, part of our priority.
Story to share with us tonight about a TV show, either for you or your kids.
I do. Certainly, of course, as a child, watching TV meant, I'm from Rimouski, and I'll say it in French, je suis originaire de Rimouski dans l'Est du Québec.
I come from Rimouski in Quebec. We had two stations to look at when I was very young. And I can tell you that my best show when I was young was Pepinot. Does anyone know Pepinot here? Surely you do. Pepinot, Pepinette. So it was my favorite show. And a bit later, when I grew up, I was dreaming of, I was a journalist. I'm now a manager. And I was part of that dream. I wanted to go see the big tower, the CBC Tower in CBC Radio-Canada, where I'd gotten an interview to become journalist in the world of information. I was saying, oh, this is going to be emotional to be there. I felt that I was part of something. But imagine, as in a detour, I came face to face with the Bobinette house. And that's the moment that really caught me. And I felt that I was trying to be part of something that was much bigger than I am. And it was bringing me back to that routine that we had at 4 o'clock. As soon as we got back to school, there was a snack, there was Bobino, Bobinette, Mauvais Coup, and so forth. And of course, we had to do that and had to watch that. And it was an excellent, so a big hand of applause for Mr. Cloutier.
So my next guest is the Executive Director of the Inuit Broadcasting Corporation. Please welcome Ms. Manitok Thompson to the stage. For those of you who may not be aware of Canadian Indigenous programming for children, The Inuit Broadcasting Corporation produces some of the most enduring and popular Indigenous programming in the country. Ms. Thompson, it is such a pleasure to have you here with us tonight. So, how important is it to create immersive Inuktitut DVDs and websites?
I'll speak in both languages because I think in Inuktitut. And so, apikoteriaitan Inuit ilakusingaji mago kabluna it is very important that we showcase Inuit language and Inuit culture to our children because we're Inuit. And it's very important that our children come to school or speak the language in school or come to school speaking that language. And there's been a lot of changes in our society. And so I think all the First Canadians are worried about their languages being lost and the culture.
What has changed the Inuktitut language in your lifetime?
Ilinera si magamali inuktituin na tiyaw kardaksunga inuktituin na tiyaw kusakaksuta ilinera si magama kisiya nila ilinera titiyaw na tilunga pero tilunga ilinera titiying o kamatay ko ilinera actuin TV mitaw to kataksuting kablo natin titigo si balya yung bakalo lilaw sa mata kablo natin to kardak pagirsuti itak palya talilaw si mang mata ilinera titiyaw na tilunga. I remember going to school, not knowing any English at all. And we had a very traditional lifestyle. There was no influence from the outside in my household because my mom and dad were very traditional. So my peers, my generation went to school without any English at all. And we went to school reading books, Dick and Jane, that we didn't identify with at all. And when we hit the school door into the building, our names got changed into Dick, Jane, Elizabeth, John, whatever. But I kept my name because I fought for it. I'm Manito. And when I became a teacher, about maybe 18 years later, in that time, in the 70s, around the late 70s, television came into our communities. The children had started to pick English right away. So my first class was kindergartens. And I asked that morning when they came in to see where they were in counting numbers. Kablo natin o kadlagon naksit siya tigi si madluti itik talilaw mata TV kalit titlugo inu nangin take ko asit tamagaro si maraw mata. One of the students, I said, can you count from 1 to 10? And I remember one of my students, Simon Inwapik, he stood up and he said, un, deux, trois, and started counting in French. And I said, where did you learn that? He said, from Dora. And so, so that's why over the years, since 1982, 1980s, Inuit were worried about their language and about our culture. That's why we started Takuginau, which is produced by Inuit, filmed by Inuit, with the Inuit principles.
Yeah. So why is Takuginai the longest running Inuit children's television, and why is it so important?
It's very important because I saw the change in a people with what they were watching on TV. It changes the whole generation. They're copying what they see. it's part of colonization. Takwa si taw yung mga lolok to inu tangin TV tikisimalak tidlogo taman na pidyo tigidlogo aksong nak tumakalo galo inu ilak ko singin ni taw tuk titini inu yakaw singin ni glo taw tuk titinang TV kun. It's very important that the children are fed from the TV, from social media in their own language, because TV can be very positive, or social media. It could also be very negative. In our case, it was very negative. The children started copying what they were watching, and that's what we saw with the generation that started coming into our schools that were just watching Sesame Street, which is a great program. Dress Up, Mr. Dress Up. It really influences your children. It changes your whole view of the world from watching TV. And that's why it's so important that children watch and role model their people on TV.
Do you think there's a need for an Indigenous children's television channel?
Tana piyara kadlatakto. Piyara kadlatalakito. Inu tangin tuang ito unali tangin Japanese ko Chinese ko kinakutwin nutangin tautuk takarakak tuin TV channel. I've often wondered, it might be a very good idea if we had a 24-hour children's show. We're multicultural in Canada. We have different languages, we have different cultures. For reconciliation, the answer to that is to start a TV channel that's just for children. So each culture has time in that TV channel. It's very, very important because we all want to be unique, and with our own language, we really need a television channel for the children of Canada so they can watch their own culture and hear their own culture. And it's very important for us, First Canadians, to make sure we don't lose our language, our culture, and our principles, our IQ principles, which is part of our program in the Takuginai series that you're going to see in the exhibit. We based it on the Inuit principles and the Inuit language, and it's so important that we need for our children a television program for children, for different cultures, for different languages, but priority, I think for me, the Indigenous peoples of Canada need that.
Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Payanamik.
Donc, pour beaucoup d'entre vous, notre prochaine
For
invitée,
many of you, our next guest needs no introduction at all. Please help me welcome Suzanne Pinel.
donc la plupart d'entre vous
So
connaissent
most
Suzanne.
of you know Suzanne Pinel under the name of Marie Soleil, Sunshine Mary. It's one of the most popular Canadian artists for children. She taught us how to sing. Mrs. Pinel, what are your best, your treasured souvenirs from the television? I've got so many of them.
Capable de faire Marie-Soleil.
It was so marvelous to do Marie Soleil, to have that career. Do you know how it started? It started from a call from Sudbury. It was a director, didn't know him at all. He told me that he was director of TV Canada. So he told me that his child had brought back from the school teaching CD with 6 songs and to use these songs to learn French. I was listening all of that. And he said, well, he wanted to do his homework. Now, no, would you be able to do a show for us? 13 December. I would never have thought to do TV. I was in the field of health and education. I said, oh, if I could do that, I could stay with my children at home afterwards. So I told him that I could not speak English, really. Languages are not my strength, but English really was not my strength. So I created Fergus, so he could speak English. So I'd always liked seeing Shaylin because I wanted to learn English. So we did a show there, and after that, CGOH asked whether I might not continue here in Ottawa. Well, what an opportunity that was. So I was able to continue to do these shows in Ottawa. So my souvenir from Marie-Soleil is that I was able to continue in the field that I like, children. I was able to continue to develop my creativity, mine, and making songs, tell stories, all of the things that are so important to me. And I got to the big CGOH studio. I had no background in television at all, so I didn't know what to do. And it's impressive to see these big studios. The team was so warm, so welcoming. They adapted to me. I didn't want to have all the camera, all the script that I had to say. So I told them, yeah, I will say this more or less. And they followed that. I like to speak into the camera as if when I was speaking to the camera, I was speaking to one treasured child here, just one at a time. So, and we could have an exchange. I was hoping that he would sing my songs at his home and that he would dance and do the recycling and the handiwork. And I really like that. And the series of programs allowed me to continue composing children. This series of shows allowed me to get to know many people within my community. I was in Ottawa. I grew up in Ottawa, and the show was here. So I was creating everything. So based on a theme. So we had to knock on the door and if you're a cook, could you come to the show and show us how to make cookies? And I remember I knocked on the door of a neighbor because he liked to do work with his saw. Can you imagine, Maya, that he would take his saw as if it were a harp? He could make music with it. And there was someone from the RCMP because I wanted the children to know what you needed to do to be safe, to know who our friends are. So I asked him, could you come to the show in your nice uniform? And I said, I don't want to see any guns. No, he said, no, we've got to dress like this. No, ask your superiors. And then the snowbirds. So I decided, no, they came. Anyway, another thing. I decided to ask a brother-in-law, Brian, who was working, doing research. I said, do you think that if I were to knock at the door of Marc Garneau, who might come 3 or 4 years ago, he was coming back from space, do you think he would come? So I'll go and knock on Marc Garneau's door. And yes, Marc Garneau came. So even after he said, I'll animate the hospital telethon with you. What was superb. These people were not coming for money. It was a show that didn't have any budget. They came because they wanted to be with the children. They had their heart in that. So these are all great memories, and many more are coming to mind. Even now, I meet people while shopping, or even here, and they'll say, "Oh, Marie-Soleil, you were so important to me when I was 8 years old." It warms my heart. And now, this great souvenir of Marie-Soleil, I can be part of the museum and your team here today. Thank you.
Donc,
C'était quoi
So,
vos émissions préférées de
what
toutes?
were your preferred shows at that time? All of the children's shows. I must indicate that it's been a long, long time that I was born.
Ah, attends, là. Ça fait longtemps, longtemps que je pense
I've
que je
been born a long time ago. I could be your great great grandmother, Maya. When I was born, there was no television, there was no TV at home. After several years, I was a teenager and I didn't watch TV for children between 2 and 11 years old. We would watch on Wednesday evenings, and somebody remember, with neighbors, we would look at the famille Plouffe family. And Saturday evenings with my father, the hockey night in Canada with the Canadians. And after that, I continued, even if it was taking the time to become more mature, I would watch children's shows and I really looked at Shaylin attentively. I wanted to learn English, and there was French and English, and there was the little puppet. When I look at the émission, my show, Marie-Soleil, Marie-Hélène really inspired me, and I loved Sesame Street. And everybody in Sesame Street was there. It was so warm, and my three children told me, "Mom, come and see this." So I looked, and Marie really liked. Oh, there are many shows that she would watch. She liked Mr. Dress Up. I like to watch it too. I liked all of these shows. She would watch Passepartout, and my grandchildren watch the PAW Patrol. It was great. So I continued I really like these shows. And what's really great fun, it's in the exhibition. I'll be able to bring my grandchildren to see everything that's there. Can you tell us a bit more with the collaboration program, how you worked with this exhibition here? Today, I was saying, if it were to be done again, the team is so great that I would do my degree in museology and come and work at the museum. It all started with a call from Olivier Coty in January. He told me, we will have an exhibition on the last 70 years. And he said, would you be interested in Be Marie-Soleil? And I was honored and surprised because my show was a very small show. And he said what he needed. He said, we'd need to borrow your Fergus for the whole year. So that was all right. And I said, well, I'll go shopping with Fergus to be at the museum. Fergus has got to be dressed properly. So he's got a nice bow tie. And then I had to find reels from different shows. Unfortunately, CGOH, where we did the shows, these were lost in a fire, so we couldn't find anything. So I was able to ask many colleagues, do you know someone? Have you got a connection with the CTV? Do you have connections with Mid-Canada, YTV? So we tried to do some research. I've got a great colleague who came home and he brought some old reels. They were all stuck together. Even if the sound didn't work, we were able to see all of the images. I was able to find 5. So I was able to continue working with them. They made that available to me. And what was extraordinary was when coordinating this work, it allowed me to live my own story, the story of my youth and my old age, but everything that was happening on TV. And it allowed me to understand the importance of the museum. It's the museum that allows us to live our history, and it gives us this opportunity to continue to do this. And the team here, I want to thank them. And if I were to name them all, I'd forget names. So yes, we will spend a lot of time looking at your exhibition. Well, thank you, Mrs. Pinel. A good hand of applause for Mrs. Pinel.
Donc, je me demandais si vous
I was wondering if you might perform one of your songs for us tonight. Are you?
Oui,
You'll
Maya.
all sing with me? Yes, Maya. I've got an idea. I think that one that's very easy. I can show you what we do. Does anyone know the clown Samuel?
Le clown,
So the clown, the only thing that he spoke with his hands and with his heart. He would also make noises. Can you make big, 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 big?
oink,
Oink, oink, oink, oink. Oink, oink.
un visage triste.
A sad face, a happy face. So it'll be easy. We'll sing together. Ah, Maya. Every time I sing a clown Samuel, it's right there next to me. It is not here tonight. He's just not here tonight. Oh, I've got an idea. He had asked me to buy him a new nose. I've got a new nose. Maya, do you think you would put on his nose for me?
Wow! Parfait!
Great, perfect.
Vous aimeriez avoir un nez aussi, hein?
You'd also like to have a nose, Maya?
Ouais, tu aimerais avoir un nez aussi, puis ils n'ont pas de nez. Qu'est-ce qu'on
Yeah, they'd like to have noses as well. What can we do? I thought I saw one here somewhere.
Oh!
Ah,
Oh! Oh! Tu vas leur donner un nez?
Ouais, ouais.
so, can I give them a nose? Thank you. Thank you. So, a nose for you.
Oh!
And a nose for you as well.
Si.
Thank you. So, you remember the words? Yes, of course you do.
On est prêt?
So, are we all ready?
Please, may we have the music?
DJ Peter, la musique.
Le clown Samuel aime les enfants, aime les enfants. Le clown Samuel, il ne parle pas, chut, il ne rit pas. Oh, il faisait toujours comme ça. Bip, 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 bip. Le clown Samuel aime les enfants, aime les enfants. Le clown Samuel, il ne parle pas, chut, il ne rit pas. Il faisait toujours comme ça. Bip, 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 bip. Oink, 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 oink. Le clown Samuel aime les enfants, aime les enfants. Le clown Samuel, il ne parle pas, chut, il ne rit pas. Il faisait toujours comme ça. Bip, 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 bip. Oink, 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 oink. Le clown Samuel aime les enfants, aime les enfants. Le clown Samuel, il ne parle pas, chut, il ne rit pas. Il faisait toujours comme ça. Merci, merci, merci.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Bravo!
Hey.
Before we wrap up, I would like to acknowledge once again that this exhibition is produced by the Canadian Museum of History in collaboration with CBC Radio-Canada and with the participation of Télé-Québec. Nous avons également le très
We've also the very great pleasure of having Ms. Nadine Deschamps, the regional director of Télé-Québec.
performers, musicians, puppeteers, artists, producers, broadcasters, and so many more behind the scenes who brought us the television of our childhoods. Et merci à vous d'être ici avec nous ce soir.
And thank you for you to be here this evening, whether you be here with us or at home in the comfort of your home.
est officiellement ouvert.
The exhibition is officially open.
Thank you for joining us in person and from home. The exhibit is officially open. Merci et bonne soirée.
Thank you, and a good evening to you all.